This is Anthony Corradetti's studio where I blow glass in Baltimore. And I apologize in advance for the incredibly amateurish nature of what this is going to look and sound like. But I thought it might be cool if you wanted to see the process, which will, and unfortunately in this case, involve clips from my having made a bunch of different pieces because we only have the one camera. And we weren't great about moving it around and that kind of thing. Typical piece usually takes about 30 minutes for me. The video will be a lot shorter. That was Nico's finger. He was being cute. Anyway, it involves a lot of heating and cooling. I'll try to edit that part out. The tools you see on the bench there are the same tools that people have been using for centuries, which is crazy, but it's true. It's a lot, very much the same art it was, hundreds of years ago. This is me gathering out of the furnace. That means I'm twirling the pipe to get molten glass on it. And I'm bringing it over to the marver to cool it and shape it. Here's the other angle so you can see what's happening with the glass while I'm doing this after the first gather. It's cooling, and I'm going to do something called, once it's in a cylinder shape and a little bit cooler, I'm going to do something called a cap and blow, which really should be called blow and cap. There it is. So blow into the pipe and cap the end of it with your finger so the air gets forced through the pipe and blows into the bubble, or makes the bubble. And I do that again, and then I end up cooling the pipe before I go in for a second gather. After I cool the pipe, I'm going in to get more glass on the end of it. So I'm making more than the shot glass size thing. See, there's a lot of glass on there. And I'm going to marver it differently at different angles because it's a lot more glass and the first bubble's already in there. Now I'm marvering the tip, which is also weirdly the bottom. That's going to be the bottom of the piece eventually. Here's the same thing from a different angle, and that's my second gather, and I'm shaping the top of it, which is actually the bottom. Like I said, it gets confusing, but and then with baby steps, you just sort of, you pull it and blow it and cool it and blow it. A little bit about what I'm wearing. The thing on my arm is a sock with the foot cut off. Protects my right arm from the heat when I'm sitting at the bench because it's my arm that is, the right arm is closest to the glass when I'm working on the bench. And I'm wearing a Mets shirt in honor of Gary Carter, who was my favorite catcher who just died last year. So I do this again and again until I get the volume I want on the piece. So that place where I'm reheating right now is called the Glory Hole. It's basically a furnace that doesn't have any glass in it. It's used only for reheating. And I'm doing more of the marvering and shaping, and it's cooling the bottom and blowing up the bubble. And the reason we're cooling the bottom before I blow it up is that we don't want the bottom to get too thin, but we do want the sides and the neck to get a little thinner than they are. You can see there's it's thicker on the bottom.
I think that looks good.
So after I heated it again, I'm going to use those jacks to make an indentation where the top of the glass will be. And Emma, my teacher, is shielding the exposed part of my hand with a paddle, a wooden paddle. But that's why I wear the sock, because at this point in the process, the glass is still well over 1,000 degrees and it's hot. See? So after I've reheated and made a smaller jack line, and I elongated the piece a little bit so that it's more of a cylinder, now I'm holding the jacks along the side of the piece and Emma's holding the paddle on the bottom to try to get a nice crisp bottom. And sorry about the whole headless glassblower syndrome thing. Like I said, very amateurish. There's Emma's head. And then the sides are getting kind of thin. So when I heat them up, they sort of collapse a little bit. So I need to give a little puff of air to open it up again. And Emma's alternating between giving the piece puffs of air and making the bottom flat with the paddle. So this part's pretty important. I've given the piece to Emma, and you can see that it has a flat bottom and a definite neck, and Emma's doing something called flashing, which is giving it a quick heat. And I've gotten a punty rod, which is also a steel pipe, but it's solid, and I'm getting just a tiny bit of glass on it. I'm gonna attach it to the bottom of the piece, and it'll make sense in a second. Now we're switching. She's going to bring me the punty and I will put it on the bottom of the piece after I give the main piece a flash. As best I can, trying to attach it to the center. But there I can push down a little bit if it's not where it should be. I can still maneuver it a little. And then I'm going to put like 2 or 3 drops of water along the neckline right there with the tweezers. And then I tap the pipe a little and there goes the piece. Bottom half of it's finished. It's attached to the punty, and now I'm going to heat up the lip and open up the lip. So this is a different piece, but I'm in the same point in the process where I just got the piece off of the blowpipe and onto the punty, so I can work with the lip or the top of the piece now. And the same jacks that I used to make the indentation are the jacks that I'm using to open up the piece now by pressing down and turning. Although even if I just turned without using the jacks, the lip would flare out, which is what I'm going for here, a wider piece at the top than at the bottom. I'm almost done. I do this one more time and then we bring it over to the annealer, which is a big oven which slowly cools the piece so it doesn't crack. It takes 18 to 24 hours for the piece to cool. Sort of the reverse of a furnace. Cools it down instead of heating it up. And again, I apologize for the amateur nature of this thing, both the video and the glass blowing. But I just wanted you to know I'm back, and thank you for watching.